What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Welcome back to the Respawn, where I answer your questions. Today we're talking about a Junkers Archives event, the reverse payload hybrid maps, and more. This video is sponsored by Audible. Using the link down below, you can get a free audiobook and support the channel. A little more on that later. First question of the day, do you think Junkers will get an Archives event, and will we need a Junker support for that? Blizzard likes to have 4 characters in these Archives events, so yes, you would need to have a 4th, and it would probably need to be a support as well. You could have Junkrat, Roadhog, and then probably Hammond if it takes place during the time when Hammond was participating in the gladiatorial arena type stuff. So yeah, you could have those 3, but you would definitely need a healer on top of that. But I think the bigger issue with these Archives events and trying to put together these groups is that the organizations in the game just don't have enough characters. Sure, there's a bunch in Overwatch, Reinhardt, Soldier, Ana, Mercy, Torbjorn, Tracer. You can take a bunch of those in a variety of different combinations, and you can make some different groups for that. And then you could have Blackwatch again, but it's the same 4 characters. And then Talon, but that kind of overlaps with some of the Blackwatch ones as well. So there just aren't enough characters. Like, for example, if you wanted to have a Vishkar one, it's only Symmetra, and that's it. Now, it's possible that they could have an archive event with only Junkrat and Roadhog, where it's their big, you know, kind of robbery spree that they did, where they went around collecting all the valuables and stuff like that. But you would still run into the problem of how would Junkrat get healed, and you could have it so that maybe he has a special item, or maybe there's extra health packs or something. But I don't know. I think if they're going to do the 4-man thing, then they definitely just need more characters. Next up, how would a self-resurrection ability work in this game? I don't think it would be a normal ability. I think that would be problematic, and it would probably have to have a ridiculously long cooldown, just like Mercy's res. I think it would be much, much better if it was an ultimate, and that is exactly what I did for one of my hero concepts called Brute, where his ultimate is a self-res. It also does some damage and some other stuff, but I think if you're going to put a self-res in this game, it needs to be an ultimate. If Reaper uses his ult inside an Immortality Field, will he destroy the field and kill everyone inside? So here's how it works. When he is inside, he's going to deal damage to all of the targets, all the players, including the drone. Now, the drone has 250 health. Most of the characters are probably only going to have 200. So while he's dealing damage, he's going to bring all of the characters down to that threshold where they're being kept alive by the Immortality Field. And then he still has to do that extra damage to the drone in order to destroy the drone, and then once the drone is gone, he has to continue to do extra damage to the players in order to take them out. Now, if nobody's paying attention and nobody's attacking him, then he can do it, but the thing is because he has to destroy that drone first, he's going to have a little bit of a delay before he can finally get rid of the players, which means that they probably have not quite, but almost a full extra second of reaction time in order to deal with the Reaper before he's able to, you know, take everybody out. So, I mean, it can work if they're not paying attention, but it's probably not the best. Is Ana a risky character to use in the lower comps? Ana requires a decent amount of aim in order to be effective, in order to heal your teammates. And in the lower brackets, their mechanical skill and their aiming isn't going to be nearly as good as it is for someone in Master or GM. So while the GM is going to be able to hit his teammates and heal them more consistently, more reliably, the person that's in gold or bronze or silver probably isn't going to be able to. You're going to miss a lot of those shots, and every time you miss one of those, your teammate just doesn't get healed. So yeah, it's kind of problematic, and also Ana needs teammates to be able to peel, so when a Winston or a D.Va or something or a Genji goes after your Ana, the rest of your team needs to be coordinated enough to help and to rescue the Ana and prevent them from getting taken out. And again, that's another issue that you're probably going to have in the lower brackets, where your teammates aren't going to have the situational awareness enough to kind of do that. And also, you may not even have people that are in voice comms, so they might not be able to hear you even if you're asking for help. So that's one of the reasons, or a couple of the reasons, why Ana probably isn't a very good pick in the lower brackets. What if Reaper's Wraith form had a kill reset like Genji's dash? It would be way too strong. Just way, way too strong. Imagine you Wraith form into a group, you take out one of their team, and then you immediately Wraith form again. You get healed up by whatever means. your Wraith form expires, you now have an automatic free reload, you take out someone else, you Wraith form again, and it would just be way too strong. You could just, you know, take out someone, Wraith form, take out someone, Wraith form, take out someone, Wraith form, and it would just be way, way too strong. What do you recommend as a warm-up for heroes who don't necessarily need to aim often, if at all, like Mercy, Moira, etc.? Well, Moira does need to aim. That's just not true. There's no lock-on in that. I don't know why people still keep pushing that. Anyways, the point is, if you need to warm up on those kinds of characters, or even Reinhardt, for example, then you can do so just in quick play or the arcade. You know, jump into whatever is going on and just kind of practice around and do whatever before you go into competitive. Do heroes have different base movement speeds? Almost every character in the game has the same base movement speed, with the exception of, I think, 1 or 2. And I believe Tracer is 1, and I'm not sure what the other one is. It might be Genji. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that the overwhelming majority of the characters in the game have the same base movement speed. And now, due to a recent patch, they all have the same base jump as well. Do you think we'll see a map with alternating routes as time goes by? For example, if one path closes. So I talked about this in a previous video. Basically, we're talking about dynamic map elements, which I think would be really cool. I think there's a lot of potential to it, and it could make maps a lot more exciting. Not just having different pathways open up, but also having certain things that are destructible. And I don't want to go too much into it because I did talk about it quite a bit in a previous video. But yeah, sure. I think having alternating routes would be really good, but I don't think it could ever be like the main route. So, for example, if you're trying to attack a second capture point, maybe the main route, the center route, is always open, but on a certain cycle, the left route opens, and then the right route opens, and then the left one opens. So you could have that. There would always need to be one that's fixed, I think, so that would always be open. But sure, you could have other things that are open to, oh hey, now that flanking route is suddenly open. Or what you could do is you could put it on a timer so that, let's say, at the beginning of the match, a certain route is closed, and after a certain amount of time goes by, right, like maybe there's only 2 minutes left in the match, suddenly an extra route becomes available. That could be cool. That could also be an option. I'm going to jump in between the questions real fast to once again say that today's video is sponsored by Audible. There's a link down below. You can get 1 free audiobook, and once more, it does support the channel. Today, I'm going to recommend Orphan X. It is the first in a series about a character named Evan Smoke. He is a former Black Ops agent, and he does some pretty amazing stuff. When I first got this book, I listened through it almost non-stop, and then I immediately picked up the other 3 that are in the series. The most recent one just came out. You can get Orphan X or any of the other books in the massive library at Audible. Again, click the link down below. Why doesn't Blizzard make heroes that hard counter goats? I think it's fine that you have characters that hard counter certain types of things, but I'm not really sure that trying to make a character that hard counters very specific metas is a good idea, or very specific comps. I think it's better to try to counter individual characters or smaller elements of the game. Also, you have to keep in mind that it takes them anywhere between 6 to 9 months in order to make a character. So by the time the character is done, and by the time they've added it to the game, that meta may already be gone. Now, in the case of Dive and in the case of Goats, that isn't the case. Those have stayed around for a very, very, very long time, but that more has to do with Blizzard just not properly balancing the existing heroes. When do you guess we'll be able to access the Demon Hunter Sombra skin? I thought it was going to get added in a new loot box update for the base game, because if you don't know, the Demon Hunter skin for Sombra is a legendary. It was available if you went to BlizzCon or if you bought the virtual ticket. And one of the little things in the bottom text, like the fine print kind of deal, was, we're going to make this available sometime next year. So even if you don't buy it for BlizzCon, you can still get it next year. I thought it was going to be in the base loot box update, but they never did it. So my best guess is that it's probably going to happen during the anniversary event. How do you design a balanced map? Also, what's your favorite map? I don't really have a favorite map, but how do you design one? Well, the funny thing, I used to design maps in Minecraft. I was one of the more famous, probably one of the best known map makers in the world for Minecraft. That's kind of how I started all of my YouTube stuff. And making a balanced map in that game or Overwatch or any game is fairly difficult because you have to really balance what looks cool versus what is actually going to be good. And there's lots of things in a game like Overwatch that you have to take into account. High ground, cover, walls, the distance between the spawn, and what are the flanking routes, all those sorts of things. I would really, really like to see a custom map builder type thing that they allow us to have in Overwatch. They've done it in previous games like StarCraft and Warcraft and you know, some of those, and I would really, really like to see a custom map builder type thing for Overwatch. I think I could make some pretty awesome maps. What do you think of an ultimate that could boost your entire team's attack speed? It's kind of neat. It's almost the same as just flat out boosting their damage, though. Do you think Antonio will be a playable hero? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we haven't heard anything about the character since the Retribution event, so it seems like they're going in a different direction for the lore and all that other stuff. So, maybe. If Pharmacy counters goats, why is it not used so much? Because it doesn't fully counter goats. It's just part of a goat's counter. But the problem with the Pharmacy type combo is that, sure, the goat's comp can't really deal any damage to the Pharah or the Mercy, but she doesn't really deal enough damage to the goat's comp either, because you have all of this massive area effect healing, you've got shields, barriers, all kinds of stuff, and the Pharah just has difficulty actually doing enough damage. Like, you would have to be able to take out the backline supports and then kind of work on the rest, but it's not as strong as some people think it is. Do you think overhead damage numbers will work in Overwatch? I mean, if they wanted to add it, it would have to be optional, because it just feels like it would take way too much clutter. If you could make a new hero class, tank, damage, support, what would you make? I wouldn't make any of the base ones. I would just expand on the existing ones. For example, the tank category should be broken up into tank, off-tank, and bruiser, so that way people have a better idea. For the damage category, you could have, you know, frontline, you could have spam, you could have sniper, you could have flank. For the healers, it could be just healer and off-healer and that sort of stuff. I don't necessarily think there needs to be extra categories, just better classifications of what have existing. Reverse hybrid map work where you push a payload through some checkpoints and then capture a point. I thought about this. I don't think it would be a good idea. And the reason why I don't think it would be a good idea is because you would essentially end the map the same way you would end a 2 capture point map, where you're basically just dealing with stall, right? So the enemy team, the defenders, could just constantly stall the point at the very end. Do you think Zenyatta is going to get some lore soon? Maybe. But I mean, at least not having lore saves them from all the retcons. How do you get your teammates to cooperate in lower elos? You kind of don't. I mean, you can try, but most of the people either don't know what they're doing, or they think they know what they're doing, but what they think happens to be wrong. I mean, just try your best, right? Do you think the Blizzard should listen to the community more? It really depends on what they're talking about. Are they asking for more specific types of heroes like healers or tanks? Are they asking for new cosmetics or new types of maps or game modes or quality of life changes or other things to be added to the game? In that case, yes, Blizzard absolutely should be listening to them. But if you're talking about hero balance, that's a lot tougher because a lot of players don't really understand what it takes to make characters balanced. And unfortunately, a lot of people are more interested in simply having their own favorite character become a lot stronger and the things that they don't like to be weaker. Like, buff my hero and nerf everybody else, pretty much. There's a lot of bias in that. And I'm not even talking about one tricks. I'm talking about just people in general seem to be like that, and it's not just Overwatch. This is for every game, whether it was Dota or Street Fighter or any other game where there's a variety of characters. People always seem to want their hero to be buffed and everything else to be nerfed. And now I know some might be thinking, well, what about the opinions of pros on hero balance? Well, let me ask you something. Who do you think has more to gain? The guy that's only going to get an extra 25 SR and maybe some extra competitive points on the ladder, or the guy that's in a $1 million tournament who's going to get a whole lot of money if he and his team win? When you're talking about bias, the guy that's in the pro level tournament has way more to gain and more to lose than just the random people on the competitive ladder. And so you have to keep that into consideration when you see some of these pros that are asking for buffs and nerfs. It's like, whoa. It's like, hold on, you're asking them to nerf the thing that counters the character that you play all the time? I'm sure that $1 million tournament prize has nothing to do with your desire to have that. And then you also have a lot of these wannabe coaches who don't really understand, and they just kind of regurgitate information that each other have said. Like, one will say it, and then the next one just kind of parrots it along, and then the next one parrots it along. But of course, you have to remember that they're kind of involved in it too, and they're going to get some of that money as well. So, you know, you have all of these people who either just don't understand, or they have these extreme biases for the characters they want buffed and nerfed. And in those situations, getting stuff from the community is really difficult, because how do you tell who's what? How do you tell if these people are asking because they actually understand the issue, or because they just want their favorite character buffed, or because they want to win that prize money, right? It's tough. So I think listening to the community is a lot better for stuff that doesn't necessarily involve balance. It's for just improving the game overall, and let the balance stuff be handled on the PTR. But it kind of doesn't get handled on the PTR right now, but that's another story. Blizzard needs to fix that as well. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.